This is Ag Matters PM from the Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network, your daily recap of the information that affects Iowa's farmers, producers, and consumers right here in the heart of the heartland. With reports from our award-winning team of Dustin Hoffman, Riley Smith, and Mark Magnuson. Now, from the IARN studios in Des Moines, here's Mark Magnuson.
Hello and welcome into Ag Matters PM on the Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network. I'm Mark Magnuson. Today is Tuesday, January 27th, 2026, and we're so glad you can join us for today's show. In today's episode, I will be joined by Cory Bratland of agmarket.net for our closing market discussion. But first, it is my interview with Meredith Petersen of the National Pork Board. Had a chance to speak with Meredith at Iowa Pork Congress about the National Swine Health Strategy.
Mark Magnuson for the Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network, and I'm joined today by Meredith Petersen. We are at the National Pork Board exhibit at Iowa Pork Congress. And Meredith, could you tell me, please, your role within the NPB?
Yeah, so my name is Meredith Petersen. I'm a veterinarian and director of swine health here at the National Pork Board.
And I know we've talked in the past about the National Swine Health Strategy, and that is still very much top of mind. Could you tell me where you are with the entire rollout of the National Swine Health Strategy and how it's still coming together?
Yeah, so I think last time we spoke was probably at World Pork Expo in June, and we were kicking off our insights gathering, trying to hear from producers what are their top challenges in terms of swine health, and how would they like the industry to work towards to address those challenges. And we've finished that data collection, did that over the summer. We heard from over 800 individuals via survey, and we held over 40 listening sessions. So we really kind of polled the industry to hear what are their top swine health challenges. We then summarized that data, shared it with a producer-led advisory group. So that was a group of producers from varied geographies, varied segments of the industry, and varied sizes. And they really set the direction for this work in the form of 2 goals and 5 priorities for the industry to really work together towards and make some progress in terms of swine health.
And when you first told me about the entire project, I did think it was very interesting that it's not coming from the top down necessarily in terms of the national groups leading the way. It is the producer saying, this is what we need, and then we need you guys to help coordinate kind of the plan. Isn't that how it basically laid out?
Yeah, that's exactly right. I think we're considering ourselves facilitators of this work, but really what we're trying to do is amplify producer voices and have a strategy and some long-term goals that everyone can rally behind together, because they're built on what the producers told us they wanted us to work on.
So what were those main priorities that producers came to you and said, these are the issues that we are dealing with the most and we need to help address?
Yeah, so our domestic diseases, specifically PRRS and PED, are top of mind for producers, the things that they're dealing with on a day-to-day basis. The goals for the National Swine Health Strategy are 1, to reduce the losses from domestic diseases, so those diseases we have currently in the industry. The priorities under that goal include a long-term goal, long-term kind of destination of eliminating PRRS and PED, as well as more generally reducing the spread of endemic diseases from farm to farm. So that's kind of the domestic disease side of things. The second goal, what we heard, was continue to stay vigilant in our FAD preparedness and prevention efforts, as well as be monitoring for and ready to respond to an emerging disease. So that second goal is keeping out FADs and emerging diseases, and then a priority focus both on foreign animal and emerging diseases.
And when you talk about porcine epidemic diarrhea virus and then PRRS, always kind of those ever-present threats that farmers are just forced to deal with, and you said that ultimate goal is eliminating those threats. How realistic is it that that's going to be somewhere down the pipeline, I guess, for the immediate future or the foreseeable future?
Yeah, I think both of those are long-term goals for sure. Our advisory group felt like if you didn't state what your end goal was, you wouldn't necessarily make decisions to get you to that point. So, as you mentioned, these are present in the industry, something that's currently a large challenge. I think having these as priorities gives the industry the opportunity to have discussions with groups of producers, identify what are the things we know and what are the things we don't know. What are the tools we don't have, technologies we do or don't have to help us get to this point. And really that's that's kind of the starting point, especially for PRRS. We know that it's prevalent, and we know that it's a real challenge. We know there hasn't been as much focus on that as PED from an elimination standpoint. But we now have this kind of initiative to say, let's have these conversations. What are those challenges? Where should we focus our work as a national organization? Where do we need more research? What education would be helpful for producers? So really long-term goal, and I think as I mentioned, the advisory group felt that it was really important for us to have a specific long-term goal.
And where are we then right now with the implementation of the National Swine Health Strategy? This has been coming together, like we said, now for a couple of years. And now I know we are at Iowa Pork Congress here today. You have the National Pork Forum coming up soon. How does that factor into the National Swine Health Strategy?
Yeah, so it really has, this effort kicked off last March. So we're rounding a year, and that time has been spent mostly listening. And that's really important. We wanted this to be very representative of the producer needs at the farm level. The next step for this, we've developed a set of draft tactics. So how can we start moving the needle, start making progress towards those priorities? Those are being reviewed by state pork associations and being circulated more broadly. We'll then kind of go through, consider that feedback, and provide an update at Pork Forum in March, with the end goal of having our board final approval of the plan moving forward.
And then if and when that gets approved at Pork Forum, what is the next step? Is it just the rollout of getting these materials to producers?
Yeah, I think producers can expect a lot of opportunity to be involved at their state associations and the national level. Participate in, as I mentioned, those industry-wide discussions of what do we know and what do we not know, and what don't we know for some of these diseases, and how can we make progress together. So I think really will be a lot more information to come this spring, and then, as you mentioned, resources in the hands of producers. So at Pork Checkoff, we're really research and education focused. I anticipate our research efforts to be focused in ways that align with this work, and then having SLAT level outcomes that we can share out to producers so they can implement as soon as possible.
Meredith, is there anything else you'd like to let our Iowa viewers or Iowa listeners know about when it comes to either the National Swine Health Strategy or just anything else that you've been working on personally at National Pork Board?
Yeah, so if people are interested in staying up to date with this effort, go to porkcheckoff.org/strategy. That'll take you to a landing page. You'll be updated as we continue to make progress. Really kind of a one-stop shop to receive information. Also on our website at Pork Checkoff, sign up for the newsletters, and you'll continue to hear information. And that's the best way to stay up to date on this effort.
She is Meredith Petersen. Meredith, thanks so much for the update on the National Swine Health Strategy. Been very insightful, and best of luck as you get that hopefully approved here coming up at the Pork Forum. Appreciate the time.
Thank you so much.
Thank you to Meredith Petersen of the National Pork Board for joining today's show. It is time now for the closing markets, and I'm joined by Cory Bratland of agmarket.net. Cory, how did we trade in the grains today?
Hey, Mark, good to be here again. Grain markets, pretty quiet. Corn market had a very quiet trading range, I think around 4 cents, maybe from high to low. Soybeans probably had about a 10, 11 cents. So just not a lot of fresh new input. Corn market spent most of the day unchanged to down 1 to 2 cents. Just again, lack of fresh new news. We kind of got into some resistance yesterday, up around that 431, 432 on the March contract. Saw a little bit of selling backed up here. So that seems to be ahead of the USDA report January 12th. We got into a trading range. Now after the report, we're kind of settling into a different range of about 415 to 435 in the March contract. Soybeans, end of the day, about 4.5 to 5 cents higher here. There is some anticipation that possibly President Trump might make some announcements regarding the 45Z program. That's been kind of lending today when he speaks in Iowa. That's been lending a little bit of support to the soybean market. So, that end of the day up, 4.5 to 5 cents higher. And wheat prices ended up about 1 to 2, getting back a couple cents of what they lost yesterday.
And Cory, sometimes that's the way it works, isn't it? I mean, we look at the market reaction almost before we know what the story is going to be. And with President Trump speaking in Clive today, that would kind of make sense, wouldn't it? That he could potentially make some statement that would align with what we're seeing in the markets.
Yeah, there is. There is some talk too that the Fortify Z program there was that's been into some debate and so-called, like, I think what I've heard is that they say that it has been completed. So traders are expecting a decision anytime. So it does make sense that maybe we do get some type of announcement here later today.
On the livestock side of the trade, at midday it was pretty quiet. Is that how we closed today?
Yeah, we did. Live cattle, feeder cattle, both down 25 to 50 cents, kind of across the board. They were down a little harder early on, $1.50 on these live cattle, a couple bucks on feeders. They did climb their way back, posted some higher gains, but settled down 30 to 50 cents here lower. So not much for cash trade yet has been established this week. I think traders are looking for a little bit higher. We got this cold, snowy winter weather here kind of pushed behind us here now. So I do look for kill numbers to start to pick up, and that might with the grocery stores shelves being kind of empty. So we might see an uptick in the box beef just as the stores look to replenish those supplies. So hog market ended up just a little bit, 30, 40 cents, 50 cents higher here again today. Again, lack of really any fresh new news. Demand's been very strong for the lean hogs here lately as funds continue to kind of chase that market.
Just last week, we had Iowa Pork Congress, which is the annual meeting here in Iowa during the winter season. And there was a lot of sentiment there that we were in a decent spot. We're in a good spot as far as profitability right now on the hog side. Big picture, Cory, do you agree with that as you look ahead to 2026?
I do. Margins are in the running, positive here for the Packers and stuff and such. So, and demand has been really good. We are hearing some of our export demand for our pork markets are starting to pick up too. So yeah, I think, and that could be a function too of these high priced beef. We still have very strong demand for that, but as a lot of consumers maybe looking for a little bit cheaper alternative, they are seeing pork demand pick up just a little bit as well.
What's the best way for our viewers to get in touch for more marketing information?
Yeah, just head on over to our website, which is agmarket.net, and you can get a hold of us there.
Thanks so much for the time here today. Always appreciate it, and have a great rest of your day.
You bet. Thanks, Mark.
Thank you to Cory Bratland of agmarket.net for our closing market discussion. Let's take a look at the closing market numbers. You can find that anytime under the Markets tab at iowaagnet.com.
March corn down 1 3/4 at 426.5. March soybeans up 5 1/2 at 1067 1/4. March soybean meal down 30 cents at 294. March soybean oil up 52 cents at 54.41. Chicago wheat up 3/4 cent at 523 1/4. Minneapolis wheat up 2 pennies at 572. Kansas City hard red wheat up 3 cents at 532 3/4. March oats up 3/4 cent at $3 even. On the Merc, February live cattle down 43 cents at 235.60. March feeder cattle down 60 cents at 362. February lean hogs up 75 cents at 89.05. February pork cutout up 13 cents at 97.95. Class 3 milk down 40 cents at 15.63.
That does it for our closing market coverage and brings us to the end of today's show. You can find all of our content online at iowaagnet.com. From the Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network studios in Des Moines. For Dustin Huffman and Riley Smith, I'm Mark Magnuson. You've been watching Ag Matters PM.